Hello, this is JessicaCross from JessicaCross ASMR, and I am here tonight to tell you this is the first day of the relaxation workshop, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about what this program is today. So, stress reduction is really my path to helping others for several reasons. First of all, because I struggle with anxiety myself. So I have researched and tried every stress reduction technique that I have found. And the techniques that I am going to share in this workshop are those that have not only worked for me, as I'm not egocentric enough to think only the ones that work for me will work, but I will share the ones that have either worked for me or have worked for my clients. I have spent 20 years working with individuals and groups on stress reduction through counseling, through corporate trainings, and later as a massage therapist as well. And I'm going to show you the techniques, some of which I learned as a child and still remember to this day, and the ones that I continue to use on a daily basis because they work for me. The reason I am going to teach this to you is because for this workshop, I want to help you get motivated to seek out what brings you joy and the goals that you want to meet. And it is very hard to motivate ourselves when we are exhausted and stressed. You just don't have the energy that you need to reach for your goals when you don't have any techniques to reduce your stress. So I want to talk a little bit about stress reduction and about what stress is. Most of us will tell you that we feel stressed, and it's actually one of the most common responses I hear to "how are you doing?" And stress, at its essence, is our body's response to physiologically and psychologically to a dangerous situation, what we interpret as a dangerous situation. So even though we may know that our boss being mad at us is not technically a dangerous situation, our body doesn't really know the difference. And the reason it is so important to find techniques to deal with this is that it is a very dangerous thing we do to our body over and over again. Many of you have heard of fight or flight, and it is this physical response that we get due to stress. So it's a quick burst of energy that our body produces to be ready to fight or flee when stress was a saber-toothed tiger that was chasing us. And the physical response is an increase in heart rate, breathing rate, muscle tension, metabolism, and blood pressure. Your hands and feet will get cold because your body will pull all of the blood to your core so that it can help you run or fight. And you can get butterflies in your stomach because your digestion is slowed down. Your pupils dilate, and you secrete cortisol. So if you are anything like me, and you suffer from anxiety, or you just worry a lot, or you're constantly thinking about the future and the situations you have to deal with, I am a planner to a fault. So my husband will often make fun of me because I will pack a suitcase for vacation a week ahead of time. And when he teases me, I'll say, well, I've already packed it 20 times in my head, so I'm just packing it so that I don't have to think about it anymore because I'm tired of packing it in my head. So if you're anyone like that. And I do the same with, I have a stressful conversation I need to have with a coworker, or I have some sort of client issue I have to deal with. I am creating this physical response every time that I have these stressful situations come up. So, especially when I was younger and in a much more stressful job, this would probably happen 7 to 8 times a day at minimum. And many of you with stressful jobs or just anxious personalities will know what that is like. That, for me, it's always a sinking in my stomach. At one point at a very stressful job where I was running a substance abuse facility for people right out of detox. I had 25 clients there that lived there and 25 staff, since it was a 24-hour-a-day program, and I was probably 27 at the time. I felt like I had eaten broken glass every time I ate anything, and I was convinced that I had caught some terrible illness when I was abroad, and it was all stress. So that was sort of my rude awakening, that I was doing some terrible things to my body with this stress that I was under. Some other physical symptoms of stress: muscular tension. So many of us bring our shoulders up to our ears. I see a lot of this as a massage therapist. I can often tell where people hold their stress. High blood pressure, headaches. Again, if your muscles are tight, you can get tension headaches. Neck aches, back aches, indigestion, ulcers, irritable bowel, muscle spasms, tics, tremors, fatigue, which most of us know it's exhausting to have our body go through that several times a day. Imagine how much work that is for your body. Sleeping difficulties, which most of us here in the ASMR community have. Obesity, physical weakness, and some of the emotional symptoms are, again, a chicken or the egg thing with anxiety. So stress can cause anxiety, and anxiety can cause stress. Depression, powerlessness, poor self-esteem, hostility, anger, resentment, phobias sometimes, fears, obsessions, and irritability. And the only reason I bring this up is, again, most of us will say when asked that we are stressed, but we are not prepared to often do the things that we know we need to do to get rid of this stress. And that is what I want to show you in this workshop. It is step one for almost everything. You need the tools to reduce your stress, to be able to goal set, to be able to be creative, to be able to be intuitive. All of that is pushed to the side when you are dealing with just general stress management. So I want to do a brief visualization for you, just again to look at some of the issues that come up around this. So I want you to get comfortable. Guided visualization, I feel, is one of the most powerful stress reduction tools. If you struggle with guided visualizations, it is one thing that we will go over in this workshop. I will give you additional breathing techniques and relaxation techniques that should be able to help you get into a meditative state where you can visualize easier. But just for the purposes of this activity, again, I think most people learn better through actions rather than just me talking. And since I am not in the same room with you, I can't do a lot of activities with you as I used to do in my corporate trainings. But I have found through guided visualization that I can often give you a very similar experience because your brain is not very clear about when something is a visualization or a dream or a memory or reality. So you can come very close to actually, quote unquote, experiencing this through visualization. So look at it like a daydream. You will be creating this in your head. This is not about clearing your mind and letting it come to you as a picture. That is not often the way I do my guided visualizations. It is fine for you to create this picture in your head as if you were closing your eyes and trying to recreate the picture of the room you are sitting in. So picture it in as much detail as you can. And I want you to picture that you are standing in a circle with some of the other members of this workshop. We are all standing in a circle. Actually, I am not standing in the circle. I am outside of the circle. And I hand you a ball and tell you to throw the ball back and forth to the members in the circle. And so you begin to throw that ball back and forth across the circle to one another. And I hand your neighbor another ball and tell them to do the same thing. So now there are 2 balls that are being thrown back and forth. And then I hand the neighbor to the other side of you another ball. So now there are 3 balls that are being thrown around the circle back and forth. They are different sizes, they are different weights, they have different textures. Feel what each ball feels like as it is thrown to you. And I continue to go around the circle and one by one hand other members of the circle balls to throw back and forth. So now there are 4 balls being thrown around the circle, and then 5, and then 6, and there are only 10 of you in the circle. And now 7. And notice what is beginning to happen with the balls that are being thrown. And now 8. We are joined by a nice, relaxing thunderstorm. That's good for relaxation, too. So we are throwing these balls in our circle in a nice, cozy room with the thunderstorm outside. And we are now up to 9 balls. And this, if not sooner, is where the activity usually stops. And I want you to think about what has probably happened at this point. And from experience, as each ball is added, there is more and more chaos in the group. And once you get about at 4 or 5, balls start falling onto the ground as they are not caught in time by members of the group. And you can open your eyes. And the reason I do this activity is to imagine that each of these balls is a different situation, issue, or stressor in your life. And what happens when you have too many of them, or if they are too big, or if they are too heavy, is balls get dropped. Literally. You only have a certain amount of bandwidth. And if that bandwidth is always taken up by daily stressors, without any way to remove some of the balls, or at least remove some of the weight, you will not have room, A, for any more balls to be added. So maybe the goals that you really want to meet. And some of the things that you are trying to keep in the air will not happen, or won't happen in the way that you want them to happen. Again, we only have limited bandwidth. And we all know those people who can function for a while on very little sleep, or seem to work 80 hours a week without it bothering them. And again, many of us can do that for a period of time. But I am pretty convinced, and from my experience with clients, that although they may be able to hold it together for a while, there comes a point where it all falls apart. And so while I cannot come into your life and necessarily help you remove some of the stressors, I can come in and teach you the techniques that will make some of those stressors less heavy. Stress is a bit like a pressure cooker, and if you don't let out the steam sometimes with stress reduction techniques, you will burst. And that generally means getting physically or mentally sick. And so I don't say this to scare you, but I say this because I know many techniques that some just take 2 minutes. And you can do them daily, but they have to become a priority. And if you do want to be able to come home in the evenings and work on something that's important to you, instead of flopping down on the couch and watching 2 or 3 hours of television because you don't have the mental bandwidth to do anything else, you do need to learn these techniques, and you need to learn the ones that work for you. So we will look at several different techniques, including ASMR, as that one has been very valuable to me, and I hope it will be to you as well. ASMR and guided meditations are the tools that I use daily, and it has made a profound change in my life. I do not have those fight or flight responses 7 or 8 times a day anymore. I maybe have them once every 2 weeks, or maybe once a week. Not to say there's not stress in my life, but it doesn't affect me that way. And when it does come up, I know how to cope with it. I still have the same job I had 10 years ago when this plagued me. So the way I have dealt with it has changed, and the ongoing tools I use have changed, and I want to teach those to you. So I hope you will join me for Zenvigorate. Sign up now, and you can get into the private Facebook group. You will receive weekly meditations, as well as PDFs and journal prompts or other creative activities. And we will go through this together for the next 7 weeks. And I really hope you join me, and I look forward to getting to know you in that workshop. Okay, take care.